you get to that place where you just like, you know what, I don't know if I want to keep doing it. And I think every business owner feels that way. And I think they get to that place where they're tired. It hasn't come out exactly how they wanted it to come out. Maybe it was physical or financial, whatever the case is. It was something that happened.
Meet Santo Stephens, a former NFL player turned entrepreneur who now teaches the next generation how to turn discipline, connection, and real-world skills into elite-level success.
That caused you to think, well, maybe I should just go ahead on and lay this down. And I was sitting there with her, and we were talking, just kind of planning a little bit. I was kind of feeling like, man, I've been putting in the work. I've got, maybe one or two more contracts to fulfill, different things like that. Maybe I should go in a different direction.
What's up, everybody? This is Reinvented. Ornum back with another edition of the Scaling Up Success podcast. Today, we are brought to you by Synergist. Synergist is your go-to AI operations company and helps you grow exponentially faster at a fraction of the cost. Go check out synergist.com. I'm really excited for today's episode. I have Santo Stephens, former NFL player turned entrepreneur and speaker and author. Man, Santo, how the heck are you doing today, sir?
Man, I'm great. Listen, Ryan, it was great meeting you this past week in Omaha, of all places, man. Fantastic ability to speak about your business and to just talk about how we can expand and scale. I thought that just the information that you gave us there was invaluable.
Well, thank you, sir. But what I'm really excited about, man, is like having our audience learn more about what you got going on. I mean, you played in the NFL, right? How long did you play?
Well, it was a total of 6 years. So the Chiefs, 1 year with the Bengals, and I finished my career in Jacksonville.
Okay. So learning, coming from the college ranks and then stepping up to the pros is a whole different level of like execution, of game planning and everything like that, right?
Absolutely. So each level adds, an element of speed and skill. I mean, you're talking about going from little league to high school to college and then onto the pros. I mean, each level has its own set of skills and possibilities, but at the same time, you have to have a certain level of ability in order to be able to do that. And that talent actually is something that is cultivated over those spaces of time and actually getting good at each one of those levels. I look at business almost the exact same way.
I was going to say the same thing on that.
Yeah.
Isn't it like you're leveling up? Because like in when you get to the pros, you're able to they're refining your image, your relatability to your audience, and now in business is what you're doing that same aspect. Would you agree?
I would definitely agree. I mean, I think sometimes the education that you receive on one level doesn't always translate, but it certainly helps you to become better at what you're doing if, in fact, you've spent time doing the work at the level that you are. And I think sometimes we want to skip, and sometimes skipping actually hurts us when we get to a certain place. Yeah.
Well, and that's as you built your career in the NFL. I mean, you may have gotten a couple snaps, on special teams to start with, and you got more reps on the defensive side. You built yourself a career because of that, just getting more and more talented, more and more deeper into the playbooks and understanding the systems that you're playing in. It's the same thing in how you've now transitioned, because your body just can't hold up in the NFL, more than, the time that you have it. You know what I'm saying? So as in business, being able to transition and be able to take what you've learned from there has probably been very essential, right?
It absolutely has. The average career for a football player is 2.8 years, which means, in the course of 3 years, you do whatever it is you possibly can do to hold on longer. And God bless the guys that are actually able to sustain 10, 15, in some cases, 20-year careers.
Right.
But it's not meant for your body to take that level of abuse for extended periods of time. You got to think, I mean, before you actually get to that place, and we were talking about levels, I mean, most of us started playing when we were maybe elementary school. So 7, 8 years old, you start playing. And so that's 20 years of playing football. By the time you get to 28, 29 years old, where your body has actually had that impact over and over again throughout the course of your life. I think when we were just starting to really understand what concussions really were,
Hmm.
somewhere in, I would say, the 90s is when everybody started to realize when we would say, oh, yeah, he got a burner, or he had a little, they had head-to-head collision or whatever the case is, and he just got his bell rung. You
Right.
know, for us to understand that that was an actual concussion, and over time, those concussions would actually have an adverse effect on education is key, and so, the ability to be able to translate that off the field into something else as far as business has been something that I've been really proud of. Life's Work 5-3 is my company, and I started Life's Work over 20 years ago, primarily because I wanted to be able to teach and train young managers or young potential professionals how to translate from high school or to college into the workforce. And so that took some training on my part to be able to learn what employers were looking for, to learn what what it would take to actually fill out resumes, to be able to build a business, to know what scale actually was, and to actually understand the systems that needed to be in place in order for folks to be successful.
That's fantastic. And like, how did you know, like, once you made that transition, like you obviously had to have a huge amount of confidence to be able to play in the NFL, but like when you're starting all over again in something that is completely new, how long did that take you to feel like, you know what, I'm gonna make this. I'm gonna make this work.
Right. Well, I mean, it's not something that happens overnight. I mean, just like you have to, in some cases, humble yourself and get
Right.
around people that actually know that business or they know what it takes in order to be able to do that. And ask the right questions. And don't walk in pompous and having folks feel uncomfortable. What you have to do is you have to actually stop and say, guys, I don't know what I need to know in this area. And I'd like to know. And I mean, the same way I approach sports is the same way I approach business. I walked in with a notebook. I started writing. I started asking questions. I started going to seminars. I started to go to places where I knew I could get the answers from folks. And even more importantly, there were several nonprofits at that time who were looking for people to actually train to become the folks that they would need to be the face of the organization in order to get that message out. Fortunately enough, I was actually able to be around a lot of those folks that were doing the work on the ground at that time and needed folks like me that would be willing to plug in and actually do the work. And so, I've been really blessed in that way to be able to meet great folks and to be quiet enough to listen and learn enough so that I can then be able to go out and take that message out.
That's phenomenal, man. Hey, what are you most proud about on your business journey?
On my business journey,
Yeah.
well, on life, I'll do two things. On life's journey, it's
Sure.
my family,
Yeah.
my wife and my three sons, everything. But when we think about business, life's work for me has become more than just a business where you just kind of do it and you walk away. I originally started life's work because I knew that there were a bunch of young men and women who had had some troubles. They were incarcerated or in adult ed, which we used to call reform school back in the day, that
Hmm.
needed to hit the ground running. And so all of those skills that I learned from workforce development and all of life's work was the vehicle that allowed me to go into these facilities and now train these young men and women to be able to transition well. And so that's what I'm most proud about. I look back on the pictures of some of my first classes and some of the first things that I was able to teach during that time and how impactful it was for those young men and women. And when I go back to Florida and to some of the parts of South Georgia that I was able to start teaching those classes,
Yeah.
I see the impact still, right? What's amazing is whenever you are in that space and then somebody that you knew or somebody that was a part of your class or somebody that learned how to teach a class from something that you taught previously comes up to you and tells you about it. And you may have forgotten that person, right? But
Right.
you'll never forget the experience. And more importantly, they'll never forget how you made them feel in that
Exactly.
space.
That emotional connection is huge, man. And like it kind of leads into this next question that I have for you is like Man, there's so many things that happen along the way. Is there like some unexpected conversation that you had that was like kind of gave you a different tangent to work on with your business?
Well, kind of to the point that we were speaking about a moment ago, you get to that place where you're just like, you know what, I don't know if I want to keep doing this,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And I think every business owner feels that way. And I think they get to that place where they're tired. It hasn't come out exactly how they wanted it to come out. Maybe it was physical or financial, whatever the case is. There was something that happened that caused you to think, well, maybe I should just go ahead on and lay this down. Well, we were eating lunch one day, my wife and she had, come out for lunch, for a lunch break. And I was sitting there with her and we were talking, just kind of planning a little bit. And, I was kind of feeling like, man, I've been putting in the work. I've got, maybe one or two more contracts to fulfill, different things like that. Maybe I should go in a different direction. A young girl walks up to our table. I'll never forget this. And she says, do you remember me? And I looked at her and I said, wow. And I stared at her and she turned around with her scrubs on. She said, I did it. And I said, wait a minute. She was in my absolute first class at an adult ed. She said she was going to become a CNA and she took the test. She became that. This was maybe a year and a half, 2 years later, right?
yeah.
And I mean, I sat there, I could not finish my lunch, man. I mean, it was just that type of thing where it was like, I choked up so bad I had to go outside and take a walk. But
Wow.
when I came back, my wife was looking at me like, yeah, that's what it's all about, isn't it? I was like, yeah, absolutely. And
That
so
that's
she
incredible.
just, yeah, she just came to the table just to say thank you. You know what I'm saying? She wanted to thank me for not giving up on her and for pushing her in that class. My class was based on life skills and personal presentation. A lot of times when I'm talking with folks, I want to make sure that when they walk in, they're successful at being able to get the job they say they want to get. So when you're
Yeah,
sitting across the table from somebody and you get into, okay, well, why am I here? You're asking questions. Well, they're going to ask these questions, but you need to be able to convey your story in a way that tells them that you're serious about it. But even more importantly, why you came and what you came to do for them, right? I think a lot of times we go in and we just give up these blanket answers, or we're very robotic about what we're saying, right?
right.
I think the challenge is I'm bringing something to you, and you have something for me as well. And in this conversation, we're going to be able to explore those two things. And when I leave out of here, there'll be nobody else that'll come in here behind me that will impress you as much as I will today, you know? And so, when you're able to kind of convey that message and talk about that, I think a lot of times, man, it's mind blowing to young folks to believe that this is the one time that they can actually brag or talk about themselves and nobody will get upset about
Right. Do you feel like the population that you're serving is still under like not utilized, but like under
it.
there's a
Underappreciated?
underappreciated. That's probably the better word. Yeah, I apologize for not coming up with that word faster.
Yeah. Well, when I think about it, I think about young people who are attempting this marketplace for the first time. And then I think about guys like me who would walk back out here and have to, either from their previous business experience, have to reinvent themselves.
Yeah.
It's all almost the exact same thing. The only thing that's different now is here's a guy who actually has experience, but he does not necessarily know where he wants to plug in and how to plug in because everything is totally different now. He walks in with a paper resume and everybody's on their phone. What? I
Right.
mean, you got to figure out how to reinvent yourself, and you got to be able to upgrade your technology and do all of the things that the marketplace is calling for now. Conversely, with some of the younger folks, now one word answers won't get it for you. You've got
Right.
to actually have a conversation and be willing to talk about what you bring, as opposed to it being, yeah, no, okay, no. All of your work has been done opposite of what the older gentleman is. Their work has been done with their thumbs,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They're fantastic on the computers, but verbal skills and the ability to network and those sorts of things are what I've been called in to particularly small colleges and to youth events to be able to teach. So, yeah.
do you feel that the social skills that you're teaching right now, like that genre of like communication, is something that we're going to see it swing back in like a pendulum swing? You know, like right now we've kind of went all the way to the one side where we're getting very little of that communication, you know, where it needs to swing back to the middle. Do you feel like that is starting to come back, or do you we still have some work to do?
I think it is. I think it's starting to come back primarily because what you've started to see is the lack of social interaction has caused a rift or void in relationships in general,
Yes.
right? And I think there needs to be some sort of medium that allows folks to actually physically be around one another. I think COVID didn't help as far as I was concerned either. And so there's still an opportunity for you to physically go in and ask somebody for a job, right? But even if you don't physically go in and ask for the job, they're going to send you something that says, hey, we're going to meet on Zoom first, and then we'll meet in person.
Yeah.
And the person on Zoom needs to be ready, just as ready as the person that meets in person, even more so because this is their first impression. And on most cases, when we talk about first impressions, you may not get another shot at this first 10 to 15 seconds.
Right.
And so you got to bring it in this first 10 to 15 seconds in order for the rest of this meeting to go the way that it needs to go. And that's Zoom or in person. And so I think a lot of times, one class that I've taught for years, and I actually taught a level of it at our meeting in Omaha, is
Hmm.
Dragons. And I mean, that's essentially what we are. We go out, we find it, we kill it, we bring it back. That's how
Yes.
that should work.
Yeah.
But if in fact you've never been taught to do it, then how can you be that slayer? The truth is a lot of times, even as adults, we'll tell young kids or whether it's teenagers or our own kids that are graduating from college, you need to get a job. We haven't equipped them to really go and get that job. There's a lot of
Right.
nuts and bolts between applying and actually getting the job. You know, a lot of research that needs to be done, a lot of things that need to happen in order for a person to have the conversations necessary to impress somebody that can pull the trigger on them getting paid. But I don't think that there's a lot of information out there that allows young people or somebody transitioning to be able to be as knowledgeable about the marketplace as they should be. And part of my job is to make sure that we sound the alarm to have them know that it's okay if you don't know it. The problem is most of us go out and we just assume that we know what to say. Well, in most
Right.
cases, and if I'm sitting across from somebody that actually has what I need to tell them how I can help them to get what they need, and then I can get from them what I need. So that's how that should work.
I love that, man. Very cool. Well, thank you for sharing your insight on that piece of it, man. One of the things we're going to transition real quick to one piece that we love to expand upon more is to know like the founders and the CEOs of businesses on more of a personal level. You up for a little rapid fire questioning?
Rapid fire questioning.
Yes, sir.
Well, I don't know where you're going with this, but go for it.
What's the book that you're reading right now? Do you got a book that you're reading?
A book that I'm reading right now, I actually like murder mysteries. And so, Walter Mosley is a fantastic writer, man. And anything having to do with Easy Rawlins, the detective, I'm all in, man. I mean, and a lot of times it'll be audio because I'm either driving or
Yeah.
when I'm working out, it's in my ear, man. And I mean, it's just those books and that entire series, man, is just, I mean, it pulls me in almost every single time. Yeah.
Nice. Very cool. Do you have a bucket list travel spot you still want to go to?
Bucket list travel spot. For me, I don't think it's so much bucket list travel spot for me because I'm a leave for 3 days type of guy, and then I want to go back home to my own bed. But
Yep.
I think my wife and I together will probably hit quite a few different spots. I mean, anything having to do with any island that's warm enough and we can actually relax. Yeah, she's all in for any of that. But I think a lot of times we talk about, oh yeah, I want to go to Europe. I want to go to. Listen, I'm interested in all of those places, but for the time that you're actually going to get me, it's got to be a spot where it's something that I wouldn't see anywhere else. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah.
And the food is a huge piece for me. Like when you go someplace, I want to taste something that's just like, man, for the next 5 years, I'll go, you remember what we had, you know. So
Right.
I want that experience.
I love that, man. Very cool. Hey, what was the first job you ever had?
Oh, first job, man. Okay, so Wild World is a water park outside of Maryland, right?
Okay.
And yeah, I used to be a burger chef at Wild World. Yeah, I'll never forget it, man. I mean, I was really good at flipping the burgers in there, man. It's a water park, it's an amusement park, so families buy burgers and fries, and that's all we made pretty much. And I was sitting there one day, and I'm just back there just flipping, and this lady stops in the front, and she says, "You, back there on the grill." "Yes, sir, you." And I walk up to the front, and she says, "You were in my second grade class." And I said, "Miss Greenfield?" And she says, "That I am. It is great to see you working." Right. And I
That's
laughed,
awesome.
and it was awesome, man. And so, we slipped her family a couple extra fries, man, and I went on the back. It was great. But that was my first job, really, as far as actual employment. And I still remember how that interview went. We kind of walked in, and everybody was kind of like a cattle call type of deal.
Right.
You went in and they talked with you. And based on the way that you answered the questions, they kind of placed you where you needed to be. And so, there were some guys that were, had better grades and were a little bit smarter, and they put them on the rides. There were some guys that had the aptitude to become lifeguards and already had backgrounds in swimming, and they put them as lifeguards. Me, I had none of those things. What I had was the ability to get out of the house and fill out the actual paperwork and get a work permit. And they were like, "Well, we need somebody to cook food, and you look like that guy." So yeah,
That's awesome, man. Very
yeah.
cool. Hey, if you could have a superpower like the X-Men or the Avengers, what's that one superpower you'd want?
Oh man, X-Men or Avengers. Every time I always go back to DC because Batman is my guy.
There you
He got
go.
super
There you go.
he got super bill paying powers, but his brain is legendary.
Yes.
And I just think that, man, that is when I look at DC, I look at Marvel, I look at Batman, and I look at Tony Stark.
Yep. Yep.
I
I
look
love
at
that,
those two
man.
guys because there's two things. They are rich and they're smart, both of them,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
But I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, there's always the ability to want to fly or to be powerful, or, have the ability to do what Martian Manhunter does and to be able to see and hear folks' feelings and everything else. I think I'm pretty good at being able to sit across from you and find the sweet spot between us. But I don't know if I would want all that responsibility. So
Going the deep
yeah.
cut, the Martian Manhunter. I love
Yeah,
that.
you didn't think I would go that far.
The
Yeah,
deep cut, my friend.
yeah,
Well done
yeah.
on that one.
Shout out to Noah Stevens, my second son, who is a game designer, man, and he and our comic book guys, man. All of my guys they love superhero movies and all of the other stuff. In fact, there's a crew of kids that they grew up with my guys. Every movie, every Marvel movie there is that's ever pretty much come out, we've all gone together since they were in like seventh, eighth grade, right?
That's awesome.
And I thought when they got a little bit older, that would be over, right?
Yeah.
But what was awesome was I was on the group text, and I didn't realize I was still on the group text. And they were just like, "Is your dad coming?" I was like, "Yeah, that's very cool that they still want me to show up." And I mean, and all
That's
those
what's
guys,
up.
they're all in their 20s now. They
Yeah.
still want me to show up to the movie, which is, if for nothing else, maybe I'm just paying for the popcorn, but I'm still showing up.
Man,
Yeah,
I love that, man. That's very
yeah.
cool. Hey, are you an early bird or a night owl?
Both, unfortunately. Yeah, yeah, both. But I mean, I guess I would be more considered an early bird. Get up.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
night owl part of it is always going to be there
Yep.
just because I go to sleep when I go to sleep. It's not,
Sure.
you know, yeah.
If you could have dinner with a historical figure, either living or deceased, who would it be?
Wow, I got a bunch of those. I mean, of course,
Give me your
everybody
give me
always
your
hears
table of four. Give me your table of four.
table of four. And, because everybody would want to see Dr. King, but Muhammad Ali would have to be at the table, right?
Right.
I would love to have him at the table. But then I start thinking musicians, right? I love Miles Davis.
Oh, good call
I,
right
I,
there.
I would love to have him at the table. He may actually piss somebody off, but I'd love to have him at the table. But then I think about there would have to be at least two athletes. So Muhammad Ali would be there. And then, I don't know, it'd be kind of tough because I would always look at a football player having to be there to be able to understand some of physically
Sure.
what would actually have to happen. And so I think about guys that have passed, but this guy I met before, and I have a lot of respect for him, Doug Williams.
Oh, yes. Yes, the
Yeah.
first
So
African American Super Bowl
yes,
quarterback.
yeah, right. So Doug or Jim Brown, and this
Mm-hmm.
one is controversial. This will mess everybody up because the other three would ask the same question that I would ask. O.J. Simpson.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I thought you were going to go with sweetness in there too.
Let me tell you something. That guy was incredible.
Yes.
Like that whole squad when they made the music and all the other stuff.
Yes.
I mean, I
Yes.
was a kid that really loved those guys, man. And I mean, I grew up in an era where, and I told somebody this the other day, I have no idea what my parents, who I grew up in D.C., I have
Mm-hmm.
no idea where my parents would have gotten Pittsburgh Steelers pajamas, right? Because I
Right.
used to love Mean Joe Green and all those guys
Yes.
back then.
Yes.
And I had some Pittsburgh pajamas, which was really funny. But yeah, so I mean, if you look at the era where you had certain guys that were just like tops in that era. I mean, you look at Chicago, you look at Pittsburgh and that whole wrecking crew that they had, and on, man. It's been some really great players and some really, really fun sports to watch.
Yeah. Lynn Swan,
Yeah,
amazing, amazing man. Well, like I said, Walter Payton, probably one of the best
yeah,
humans to,
yeah,
you know, not just play football, but just a great human nonetheless. So I
yeah.
love that, man. Thank you for sharing your candor on that. I appreciate that. Last, I got two more. Do you have a favorite cheat meal?
A favorite cheat meal? I
Yeah.
don't even know if this is a cheat meal, but man, my wife really good as far as cooking is concerned, man. And you know, I told my wife one time we were standing in the store and she says, "Oh, I need some potatoes and I need 3 pounds of ground beef." I said, "What are you doing?" She says, "Meatloaf and mashed potatoes with the
Oh, there
brown."
you go.
And I was like, "Oh," I stopped and I said, "I know I love you for a reason." Right? That like those types of meals are like everything to me. Like
Oh,
really
can't go
at the
wrong.
house, like heavy, like we're gonna take a nap after these meals. Those are the
Yes.
ones for me. Like, but she makes a variety of things, man, that our sons love, and it's just, when it comes to just basic staples, man, she
Yeah.
knocks it out the park every time.
Love it, man. Last one I got for you, dude, is what's on that playlist that you're bumping, bro?
My playlist can vary. So my playlist might go as far out gospelly as, Israel and New Breed, No Limit is really great. Then, I mean, you stay in the same theme of No Limit. I mean, it may go all the way back depending upon the day, and go to Masterpiece No Limit. So it could vary from day to day, and depends
I
on
love it, man.
who's in the car or what I'm doing or whatever the case is, man. But I usually love to start my day primarily when I'm, reading scriptures or doing whatever, man. I usually love to start it with just some really, really tight gospel, man. Just like moving chords and everything else, man. Some really fantastic artists out there now.
That's
Some really
phenomenal,
great
man.
things.
Really,
Yeah.
really appreciate you being so open and honest with that, man. It really shows a different side to a lot of our audience about our business owners that come on. So thank you so much for that. Appreciate you.
Yeah, man. I really appreciate you having me on, Ron. This is, when I think about podcasts and I think about the ability to bring about information and just really educate folks. Somebody asked me the other day, they said, "Well, what do you talk about most of the time on podcasts?" And I said, "Well, they asked me about my book, and You Were Built for This is a book that was over the course of 20 years, just conversations with me and my dad.
Yeah.
The idea that neither one of us as dads were experts, but there was information that we knew if we shared with other men, they would be successful in certain ways, right? I just think a lot of times dads don't open up and say, hey man, I'm struggling with, or I need to talk about, or I need to talk to. Now, men in general don't do that. But the
Correct.
fact
Correct.
is, in order for us to be better at what we're doing and to actually do the things we know our family needs, there's other men that have actually gone across certain things and traversed certain waters that we've already had to go across. Now, it may not be exactly how it shakes out for you, but in order to be successful on something, like I said earlier, sometimes you just need to humble yourself and ask, hey man, look, how do I get through this part?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
Can't
yeah,
ask.
one of the great things about my dad was he wasn't, and he'll tell you, he would have told you this himself. Like, look, I'm not the most educated man, but if you ask me, I'm going to tell you the truth and I'm
Yes.
going to tell you what I know. Right. And so, we would talk quite frequently, man. Like during the course of the week, it wasn't so unusual for me to call him like 3 or 4 times in the week and just say, hey, so what do you think about, or, just whatever. And, I found that to be, especially after we had kids, an
Yeah.
invaluable.
Yeah. I love that, man. Well, thank you. Thank you again for your time. It's been wonderful having you on the podcast. I would love to, continue this. And thank you so much. If there's people that are interested in hearing you speak, or, how can they get a hold of you for those engagements?
Well, they can reach out to me. Of course, they can email me at santo@santostephens.com, or they can go on the website at santostephens.com and hit the contact button, and it'll, allow them to be able to put their contact information in, and they'll email me directly. But yeah, the easiest way is just SantoStephens.com. Yeah.
Awesome. Santo, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the Scaling Up Success podcast. And until the next time, my friend, thank you. Stay blessed and take care. Appreciate your time.
And there will be a next time, Ryan. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Until the next time, everyone else, signing off, Ryan Van Orden with the Scaling Up Success podcast. Thank you so much to Synergist for sponsoring this video. Until the next time, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe on all of our videos. And stay blessed as well, everyone out there in YouTube land. Take care.